Well, Al-Qaeda continues to morph and metastasize, and in many ways it's very different from the Al-Qaeda that we faced in 2001. So the Al-Qaeda core threat that had once dominated our thinking and that threatened the homeland has very much been reduced. The core leadership has been diminished. Its capabilities to reach American shores has dropped. The problem with that, though, is that Al-Qaeda has metastasized and embedded itself in regional groups and organizations like Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb in North Africa. It's influencing groups like Boko Haram in Nigeria. It has tentacles into Somalia with Al-Shabaab and remains a source of inspiration and influence for global violent extremist movement that continues to not only kill people, but attempt to attack the West, including from the group in Yemen, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. So the threat in many ways has changed over time. It hasn't remained static. And the challenge now for the U.S. and other authorities is to get a handle on what has become a more fractured yet still dangerous movement. There's two reasons why I wrote Treasury's War, principally. The first is there's a centrality and importance to the use of financial power and influence in national security. Over the last 12 years, that has become an even more predominant source of U.S. power and influence. And you see this every day in current events. You see this in the debate over what to do about Russia's incursion into Crimea and Ukraine. How can we use financial sanctions and influence to actually hurt Russia and to change their calculus? You see it in the debate over how to negotiate with Iran with respect to their nuclear program. Can the sanctions, financial pressure, and their isolation be used to dismantle their nuclear program? And you see it over the debates as to how to deal with rogue regimes, terrorist groups, organized criminal groups around the world. And so these issues are central to national security and to how now strategists think about the world. And I wanted to explain that. The other reason is it's a great story about the Treasury Department itself and a small group of people who actually innovated the use of these tools in a very different and aggressive way post 9/11. It's in essence been a revolution as to how we've thought about the use of financial power, not so much traditional trade sanctions, but more so the idea of unplugging rogue actors from the international financial and commercial system. In the 21st century, with a globalized financial and commercial world, the ability to access those systems is critical for our enemies. If you can deter that, if you can undermine it, if you can dismantle it, you have strategic impact. And that's what the book's about. Harvard has always been a center of deep learning and academia, of course, but it's also been a crossroads for great public servants and leaders. And so whether it's the faculty, folks like Joe Nye, Graham Allison, Marty Feldstein, or the people who come to visit. I remember coming to events at the Kennedy School and throughout the college and university with folks like Lech Walesa would come to speak, the Dalai Lama, presidents and leaders from around the world. And so those kinds of experiences in that environment without a doubt fostered a desire to be involved in public policy and to try to influence. And there was no question that the grounding I got both in the college and at the law school and the experience of being part of the university has always been a part of my passion to not only be a policymaker, but to make some sort of difference in the world.